Hello and welcome to another episode of the Contractor Grow Show. My name is Mark Lamberth. I'm your host, and today I'm really excited to speak with Tony Smith at Better Construction Roofing, located here in Denver, but also other areas around the country. He's got just a great story to tell. Tony, thanks so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Mark, for having me.
Fantastic. So, Tony, you've got an interesting approach that I'm really excited to talk about because it's something that I think is missing a lot of times kind of in the construction industry where there's kind of hardcore sales and there's just really a push to just get sales kind of at all costs. You've got a little bit of a different approach that's much more consultative. You really teach. Sounds like you really love to teach. And there's some interesting things that you're kind of really focused on, informing as a process of kind of bringing potential prospects into the fold, really just sort of like leading with the value of informing them and teaching them how certain parts of the industry work. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about kind of the business, where it is, and what this approach is that you teach, kind of how you approach this aspect of teaching and helping people understand what they're getting into before they hire you guys for a roofing solution.
Well, Mark, again, I think it's a great question. I mean, we're here to inform, not to sell. We want to make sure that people understand that there's a lot of speculation in the marketplace and that a lot of information is not either complete or accurate. So my job is to really make sure that homeowners understand what they're paying for. So when the time does come for a claim, they understand what the caveats are going to be. The majority of homeowners do not read their policies on an annual basis. Most of them don't understand what certain terminologies are within the claims process if they were to engage in the claims process. And being a licensed public adjuster and having that background and being able to actually give the policy understanding is really what I think is lacking in the marketplace. So really, that's how I want to be able to inform homeowners and then being able to offer solutions to the problems that they encounter.
Amazing. We're here in Colorado. There's a lot of hailstorms, and a lot of those are covered by insurance. I mean, you guys have got an office in Chicago, Oklahoma City, Minnesota. Looks like you've really kind of expanding out, amazingly in some of those areas as well. And I think they get a lot of hail. There's a lot of sort of insurance covered jobs. I don't know about the insurance. I haven't read the insurance policy for our house, right? So it sounds like you guys really have a niche of working with folks that projects are covered by insurance. I mean, roofing is certainly falls into that. What is the sort of value add where folks, they just don't really know what's in their insurance policy, and you as a claims adjuster, you understand the insurance industry very well. How are you able to kind of inform and help them understand what's covered and what's not covered, and when they hire a contractor, how to like interface with them?
Well, for us, it's a big picture approach. In my opinion, I say the roof is a Ray Charles situation. Anybody could see it. It's a very obvious thing. But what is being missed is homeowners are leaving money on the table because they're using inexperienced contractors that aren't knowledgeable on being able to explain the full totality. Your policy covers your house, meaning the entire structure inside and out. So that means your windows, that means your garage doors, that means your siding, that means your gutters, that means skylights. So there are so many more things that are less obvious to someone who's inexperienced to just think that the roof is the big ticket item. And to be honest with you, homeowners pay their deductible, whatever that set amount is in the policy. And as you were stating before, most of these policies aren't being reviewed. So what's happening is everyone wants to talk about the cost of insurance, right? But what the disconnect is, do you understand what you're paying and why? That's really kind of the whole crux, is trying to make sure that homeowners can understand the policy in which they've paid and which the things that are covered are going to be covered under the policy. So let me give you a very brief example. Mrs. Smith has a home that's been impacted by hail. She's got vinyl siding, vinyl windows, non-insulated garage door. She has various other things on her property, pergolas, things of that nature, that were damaged by hail. Well, what ends up happening is not all of the things that I mentioned are directly obvious if you're not looking for them. So Mrs. Smith will call up Joe Blow contractor and say, hey, my home has property damage. Would you come out and inspect it? Well, the first thing they're going to do when they get to that house is they're going to jump on the roof. That's the first thing they want to do. And again, as I said, Ray Charles can see it. We know that these older roofs and even newer roofs here do get damaged by hail. But what you're not covering or not paying attention to are the dents in the garage door, the dents in the fascia around the home, things that are not apparent, to a layman. So my job is to make sure that you understand the policy provisions that are covered. And sometimes there are things called exclusions. They're like, for example, if you have somebody that's got a home that's got a metal roof, farmers insurance is one of them that I can name that has exclusions for metal roofing. Well, I'm paying for insurance. Roofing that is metal does get damaged. And so when you go to file your claims and your insurance adjuster comes out and pays for everything but the roof, or pays for nothing at all, you now have to go back and explain, oh, well, did you know you had this exclusion in your policy? And they're going to say, well, no, I didn't. And so there is where I'm trying to fill the void, is making sure that people understand is, yes, you're paying for insurance, but do you know what you're getting for what you're paying?
Amazing. Are the insurance policies, they all have different things that they cover? Is there kind of a median that all of them cover? I don't even know the ins and outs
Well,
of this.
so there are different types of policies. I believe, I have to remember offhand, I believe there are 9 types of policies based on, is it a single family home? Do you live in a condo? Do you live in a townhouse? Do you live in a cooperative community that has an HOA that manages certain things? Those are things that are going to depend on the type of home that you live in. I'm referring to things that are single family specific. But when you get into single family specific, for example, in Denver, there's a lot of older homes in Denver that were built, the Sears kit homes that were built in the 50s, 60s. And what ends up happening is these people go to State Farm, they'll go get their policy, ensure that, they'll pay their insurance premium. Your insurance company is going to go and look at the public records, meaning that any kinds of upgrades or any kind of permitting or work that's been done to your home, and they're going to base their rating on the information alone. So that means, for example, you bought a house and the roof is, let's just say 17 years old. So if it's 17 years old and that was when the permit was pulled for that roof, well, ACV, actual cash value, which is one thing that happens in a lot of policies, is going to diminish what they're going to pay on that claim because of the age of the roof. Now, if you had, for example, a home that was 5 years old, that most likely would be a replacement cost policy, but it all depends on how well you communicated what your needs were to your agent and whether or not those things are going to be covered at full, minus your deductible, or excluded, or whatever.
Amazing. Tony, when you're approaching a homeowner, when someone contacts you guys, I assume that because of this, because of your background and because you guys are really, understanding the insurance sort of ecosystem better than most contractors out there, most all of them, and you guys are sort of working within that system in many cases, that there's actually an extra kind of load on you guys to review a policy, to sit down, talk with someone. It's a longer discussion, right? It's not just sending some bid via email or whatever. This is a kind of a consultative process. What does that process look like for you to educate a homeowner? How much time does this take? How much more time does it take than, say, a typical contractor? What's involved in all that?
Well, really a good, thorough inspection should take 90 minutes to 2 hours. That making sure that you have a very, very large book of photographs, because it's all about what you can prove. And that's the other thing that a lot of people don't understand about insurance policies is they're going to assume you have the base model of whatever it is that you have unless they were notified otherwise. So that means if you, for example, decided there are a lot of people that do a lot of retail work for windows and siding and custom doors and things of that nature, but what they're not doing is conveying that information to their insurer. So by the time you get to the claims process where you might need to use a claim related to hail or something of that nature, They think you have average grade stuff. Well, what we do is we use a deliberative process with other subcontractors that are specialties in their field. So that means if you have custom Geldwin windows, we're going to find the right kind of quality of that specific window, because your insurance company is not going to pay you for better than what they believe you have unless you can prove otherwise. So there are a lot of things during the process that can be unearthed that people didn't know. Like, for example, you bought a home 5 years ago. They said they put a roof on. We don't necessarily know. We know there are shingles up there. We can look at the style and know what kind of shingle it is, dimensional, architectural, 3-tab, what have you. And then what ends up happening is you get to the tear off after that claim has been approved and you're starting to move forward after you've discovered the damage there. And you tearing it over and you notice that there's a sure nail strip on the bottom of the shingle. Well, base grade shingles don't have that feature. So that means your insurance company owes you for what you had, which is the better shingle. So as long as you thoroughly document that information, then your insurance is obligated under the provisions of that policy to pay that replacement cost of that material. And I want to give you one quick example of one that I worked with recently. One of my homeowners in Denver had a Foremost insurance policy. The roof was 12 years old. I went out there and met with the adjuster. Adjuster had no problem, paying for the damages. I found not only the roof, the gutters, there was some siding damage on the home, there was paint, there was fencing, there were all kinds of other things that were damaged that were put into the claim. The roof, from the insurance perspective, they believed the roof was 20 years old. Well, the homeowner looked at the adjuster directly and said, no, my roof was put on in 2012. Well, the difference between that 20 and that 2012 difference, that 20-year versus that 12-year, was replacement cost versus ACV only. So what ended up happening is, because that homeowner worked with me and I was able to do some research and digging and prove the age of the roof, that homeowner was afforded a replacement cost for the roof that otherwise would have been paid at basically 30 cents because of the depreciation. So it's about thoroughness, it's about diligence, and it's about documentation. And you can only get paid for what can be proven.
Huh. Amazing. If you're listening to this episode, I hope that you're picking up as much value as Tony is delivering here. I mean, go back and listen to this again. This is a very powerful sort of way of working with homeowners and of creating an amazing business. I mean, the insurance industry is very technical. We've struggled with this in our own personal life, in claims that we've had for different things. We pay that insurance premium every month. We don't know what it covers, right? Sometimes we've had great surprises. Well, it covers all of that. And other times, well, it doesn't cover that. And we didn't even begin to know in our own properties and personal goods and different things that it's a matter of what we can prove, and that there's a difference between the details of that. And Tony is really talking about an amazing service of informing homeowners deeply, understanding the industry very deeply, insurance and kind of claims and claims adjustment. Tony's a claims adjuster in Illinois, and how to navigate that area, because so much of homeownership, these are big ticket items. A lot of times, homeowners themselves, they sort of price shopping, they're concerned, they're price sensitive. And Tony has found a way here for the last 15 years, been in business for a long time, of creating great niche by having expertise and having a consultative approach of talking with homeowners to really inform them and ultimately help them greatly by being able to cover kind of many more things by insurance that they've been paying for years. It's just amazing. I love it, Tony. So, Tony, you guys specialize in residential roofing, roof replacement, hail damage repairs, gutter installation. You're talking about some other things that come up as you're inspecting your property. If someone does have siding damage, maybe needs windows replaced, do you guys take care of all those things as well?
We do. So we work with our network of subcontractors. We also have in-house staff folks that will go out and do some of these repairs based on the scope. But yes, we work with the local companies that are the best in their field. And so we want to make sure that the people understand that competence matters. And it's okay to acknowledge, even myself as a contractor and a business owner and a homeowner, no, I don't know everything, but I do know a lot. And I believe that sharing that information can really maybe mend the gap of the price sensitivity and understanding that you get what you pay for until you don't. So it's a situation where, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that, everybody should go out and read their policy. I actually hope you go out and read these policies, or feel free to set up a consultation with me, and I could do a webinar or I could do an on-site visit, and I can sit down and explain to you what you have and what your obligation is under that particular policy and what potentially may be covered or what may not be. Being able to take that time to really educate the homeowner that the biggest investment that you have is not the time for price sensitivity, because at the moment that you have a loss, you are going to be at will of what you didn't know. And so what you didn't know can harm you greatly financially. And if you want to protect yourself, you want to know before you act.
I see. Amazing. Certainly, I mean, you guys are just got a ton of great reviews, all 5-star. I think you've already kind of revealed some of the secrets to this, but I mean, what is the secret to having perfect reviews on Google? I mean, you guys have been here in this area since 2010, got a nice long history of business. A lot of folks saying, they finished the work that they did is very high quality, a great price. I couldn't be happier with the results and the customer service received. What's been your secret to getting such great reviews and making people, have such glowing impressions of you guys' work?
Diligence, competence, and honesty. And not everything's going to be a great situation, but you do the best with what you have and you communicate effectively. You keep the homeowners informed of what's going on. I have claims from time to time that go for over a year, 2 years sometimes, because I'm fighting with an insurance company over things that a homeowner is owed for. And so all I want to say, in the time that you spend with me, I want to make sure that we're treating you not only as a family member, but as a lifetime client, which is why we offer a lifetime warranty on all roofing work that we do and extended warranties on all other trades that we do.
Wow.
Because you have to have peace of mind when you get done with what you're doing. And if you can't look somebody in the face and have a mutual benefit, because that's the business, that's the whole point of business, is to benefit both parties. And if you take the time, sometimes you have to give a little more, but you have to do what's necessary to ensure those homeowners are satisfied with the end results, and making sure that you can ask for referrals, making sure that you can stand behind and have staying power by doing what's right.
Wow, man. I got goosebumps here. So Tony, I mean, you guys have been here in Denver. You guys are also set up in Chicago, got a new office in Oklahoma City. You're also in Minnesota. How does it look to have these other sort of companies in other locations? It can be difficult to kind of have the values translate to those other places. What is kind of your idea in terms of how you grow the business? I mean, are you guys looking to open different locations? You said you're nationwide. Over the next few years, will you guys be opening other locations in yet more areas? And how do you kind of, I don't know, manage that with a kind of a larger footprint like that?
You know what? It's one day at a time. Not every stone that hits the ground is worth the squeeze. I always say, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because you want to go and be in places where in off season, you're able to help people that you can't help when there's 6 inches of snow on the ground in Chicago or more, or sub-zero in Minneapolis, or as we are here in Denver, 7-8 inches of snow, on the ground, late, but on the ground. I want to be able to keep my gear sharp by being in markets that need the knowledge. I'm originally from Chicago. I started in this industry in Chicago 15 years ago. The first opportunity I had was in Niles, Park Ridge, Illinois, working a hailstorm. And that opportunity broadened my horizons, because what I did is I went throughout the nation and opened up field offices for the company that I worked for at the time. And I understood and learned a lot of good, and I learned a lot of bad. And the good things that I learned are the things that I've chosen to carry with me through my career. And knowing that not every office has necessity at every time. So we dispatch as needed. I have national weather reports. I have reports that we receive and maps that I'm able to work from. When I'm needed, that's where I want to be. So we keep our offices light. We keep our staffing tight for the people that live in those regions. So when there is an opportunity, we want to make sure that we can strike and be ready to help wherever we're needed. But really our focus, honestly, as you can tell, kind of forms a diamond, the Minneapolis, Chicago, Oklahoma City, and then you've got, of course, Denver. So all of that diamond that comes around is really going to be our focus point, because that really is where the most work is probably going to be going forward. My job is to try to be forward thinking and try to make sure that, 15 years ago, all you heard was Denver. Hail, 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 Denver all the time, all the time. You have markets that are just overly saturated. You've got a lot of homeowners that are tired. They are just tired of the brute force tactics that a lot of these guys use. They don't want to listen to somebody who can help them because they've been so jaded by what's going on in the marketplace at large as far as the majority. So I want to be able to be nimble on my feet to assist the homeowner. Denver, Minneapolis, Chicago, Oklahoma City. Perhaps in the future, we may have an office in Des Moines. And then, of course, the conjoining states that are attached to those states would be states that we would give reciprocity and or get licensing in to serve those people that live in border towns. Like I grew up in a place called Rock Island, Illinois, which is eastern Iowa and western Illinois. It's a grouping of cities called the Quad Cities. And so you have a lot of that back and forth where you might get a storm that comes across both ways, or like down in St. Louis, Missouri, you got that southern Illinois, Missouri, connection. So being where you can effectively and efficiently serve people without overextending yourself over a large map.
Amazing. Yeah, and Tony, touched on something here, and I want to kind of illuminate this, and it is the idea that marketing and sales in the construction industry isn't like it was 15 years ago. The market is saturated. And I mean, we hear this, many markets are saturated. There's just more folks kind of piling in online and having kind of high pressure sales tactics. And so again, what Tony has, I think really coming from the heart, but also it's just great business advice, is that he has really found a way to slowly unfold the sales process without needing to be high pressure. It's consultative sort of conversation. He's taking extra time. He's doing a lot of, a larger kind of inspection, photos, looking over insurance policies, dealing with stuff that a lot of homeowners simply don't want to deal with, and able to sort of mine relationships out of that, not to sound crass, but able to sort of create business in an area
Curate
where
is a better word. My goal is to curate a relationship. And that, I think, also is what's missing in the industry, is everybody is more concerned. I'm a business person. Of course, I want to make money, but you make money when you do right by the customer first. And when you do customer first and customer focused, that's when your dividends really begin to pay off.
I love it. Well, fantastic. And Tony, you've got a crew, you've got a team here that you work with, and then I think probably a lot of subcontractors. And then in these other places have subcontractors and maybe some team there. I think you've probably got some great answers for this. And so I really want to get your take on this. A lot of folks we talk to here on the podcast and a lot of people that we work with, contractors, they are struggling with how to find and maintain team. So finding people that are qualified, finding people that are motivated and that do great work and are going to keep bringing in 5-star reviews, creating great satisfaction with your clients and customers. How do you go about sort of finding and maybe more importantly, maintaining, keeping people on the team, keeping them enthusiastic and really taking your message and going out when they're working with homeowners? Obviously, you're not on every job site. And so when folks are going out as a representative, how do you keep them kind of motivated and on point to do that really high quality work, to have that great communication with a homeowner?
First of all, my business wouldn't be what it is if it hadn't been for the merger with Better Construction. The name of my company prior to Better Construction Roofing was A&A Classic Exteriors. And so my partner, Corrado Delgado, and I have been partners since my business started. And as our relationship grew and developed, the network of people that have been opened and have been brought into because of that relationship doesn't require me to have to look everywhere and have to look for random people and try to hire subcontractors. I have a trustworthy partner that if it wasn't for the quality of his work and the steadfast commitment to the work and the people in the field, we wouldn't be anything, and nor would any other contractor. So I think for me, I'm very fortunate. I couldn't say that I could be any more fortunate because my partner is the one who's doing literally the heavy lifting. I'm a silver-tongued prince when it comes to explaining things, making sure people understand, but he is really, really the backbone of this organization, because if it wasn't for quality, you've got nothing. And the reason is there are roofs that I have done, roofs that we've done together. Again, every roof I've put on was done by the same company or by the same subcontractor. And I've had homeowners call me 2 or 3 or 4, 5, 6 years after the fact and say, hey, I noticed this or I noticed that. We get out there, we take care of it. Even if it had nothing to do with what we did. We have, for example, you get a lot of people out there, they get solar after you get a brand new roof. You get up there, they want solar. And that's great. Well, what's happening is you've got solar people that, and I'm not saying all, but there's some out there, they'll get on a roof, they'll put their solar panels in, and not everything's necessarily tight, and you start to see water intrusion. You start to see things that weren't existing prior to that solar system being installed. So we had a homeowner over in Centennial that we had done a roof for about 4 years ago, and she had called because she was concerned about some water intrusion. Well, we went out there, took a thorough look, we took photographs, we got on the roof, we noticed, there's a couple pieces of flashing that weren't quite flush to the roof surface that was allowing water intrusion. So we fixed it. We let the homeowner know. We provided a photo to her. We said, thank you for the business. If there's anything else that we can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. And we moved on. We weren't here because she had also told me that, I've had painters come out and say, it was this, or it was, it was related to this. And I said, well, it's fine when you're an armchair quarterback trying to make a job and you want to come out and you want to denigrate something that you have absolutely no business. That's fine. But what I will do is I'll come out and I'll present the facts so the homeowner understands that, hey, maybe you might want to second guess this organization, because if they're willing to talk about somebody whom you were trusting to do work, and then for them to denigrate that work, kind of tells you the caliber of the company that you're going to be working on.
Amazing. Okay. Fantastic. Well, Tony, what does the next year look like for you guys regarding just sort of growth? And are you guys kind of in growth mode then with better construction, or kind of stable where you're at? I imagine you guys are in growth space. What does it look like for you?
So right now our eyes are on Oklahoma. We've already gotten our licensing and registration that needed to be taken care of down there to be able to serve some of the great people of Oklahoma. They've had some pretty significant weather over the past 4 weeks. Obviously, we've had some ice damp, some ice and snow in regions that aren't particularly, ready to deal with ice. So there potentially could be a lot of homeowners that will have, pipe bursts and all kinds of other things related to the climate. But there was a lot of hail too. So it's just making sure that, unfortunately, that's kind of a double whammy, because your home probably got hit with hail, and then you also had some ice, and maybe you weren't ready, you were out traveling or something, you didn't have your heat on, and your pipes burst, and you now have water damage throughout your home. My job is to make sure that regardless of what the circumstances are, I will do anything and everything that I can do within my power to assist you in a professional, competent, thorough manner, and to ensure that you understand exactly what happens going forward with your insurance policy and with the project at large, so you can understand the depth and the knowledge that's required to properly facilitate the claim that you may find yourself with.
I love it. What an amazing story. Well, Tony, if folks are looking for some kind of a roofing solution, if they've got insurance policy they don't really understand, and they're looking for some help with claims, whether they're here in the Denver area, if they're in Chicago, if they're in Oklahoma City or Minneapolis, what are a couple of great ways to get in touch with you guys?
Well, you can definitely reach us by phone, by email. You can follow us on social media at Better Construction Roofing. take a look at our website. We have a very robust website. Our digital marketing director, I believe, has done an excellent job putting together a palatable way to understand a very, very complicated topic. So feel free to go to our website, betterconstructionroofing.com, and fill out an inquiry. And one of our team members, if not myself personally, will reach out to you and see what we can do to assist you with your situation, whatever that may be. On a side note, I also want people to be aware that if you've had claims within the last year and you're perhaps concerned now that you're learning new information that there may have been things left on the table, don't think that the process is over. The process is over once the claim period is expired. So if there is a claim that's outstanding that maybe you didn't notice there was siding or there were window damages, those are things that we'd love to help with to make sure that those things are added on the same claim that you had related to probably your roof and gutters. So we always can go back and do a second look at a policy and look at your claim if you worked with a separate contractor, or perhaps you have multiple trades on a contract with a contractor that weren't done. We could definitely come in, review it, see what's available with the information that we can provide to see what we can do to help you.
I love it. So Tony Smith, betterconstructionroofing.com. I'll say this is one of my favorite interviews that we've done. We've done many, many, many interviews, but we're going to go here with our team, and we're actually going to go back and review this a lot, kind of sharpen our own saw over here. Tony, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Thank you for sharing all of these gems. If you're a listener, go back and just start at the beginning and listen to this again. This is how great business is done in 2025. And Tony, it's been an honor to have you on here. Thank you so much. We would love to have you on at some point in the future, maybe next year, and hear how things are unfolding for you guys in Oklahoma City. But that's it for now. Thank you again.
Mark, once again, thank you for the privilege. I appreciate everyone who tuned in. Please reach out to us. I'd love to be able to help you out with this situation, no matter what it is.
Perfect. Okay, Tony. All right. Have a great day.
Thanks.